Okay, first, hi everyone. My name is Mary, and I'm going to talk about TV UX. So, this is the content. First, I would like to talk about who am I a little bit, designing for TV, then good practices, some technical details, and at the end, we are going to check about how to build this design system. So, in Marine, I believe that learning every day is pretty good. This can help us to build the best version of ourselves. I have a bachelor degree in graphic design and over 6 years of experience as senior UI UX designer and close 2 years as graphic designer. I have honed my skills across various fields in the industry, including health, social networking, virtual wallets, education, video games, and streaming platforms. For the majority of my career, I have been employed by Colombian and United States based companies. My teams have been international and multicultural, affording me the chance to collaborate with individuals from diverse backgrounds worldwide. And some fun facts about me is that I love working remotely, and this has allowed me to be a digital nomad. And I have been able to work from various locations, such as Porto, Portugal, Budapest, Rome, Wrocław. Now I'm located in Vancouver, so I don't know where I'm gonna be tomorrow. And learning is my mantra. So I just say I'm passionate learner with more than 20 certificates, which you can check on my LinkedIn profile. Since 2014, I have been continuously learning and advancing my career. Most of my certification cover areas such as UI UX design, product management, creative writing, and basic HTML, CSS. Some of my hobbies is like I like to do a lot. So I'm a Spanish writer. I have published 4 books on Google Play Books and one on Amazon. And this year I aim to translate some of them to English, and I hope to launch one more. And I just sharing the links in case you wanna check it. Additionally, I'm trying to build a community on YouTube where I occasionally upload videos related to UI UX, tutorials, speed design, and the next week I'm going to start some heuristic evaluations for free to random pages. And yeah, finally, I'm also engaged in running like my small business where we create interactive horror stories for the website Horror Visual Novel. Currently, these stories are available only in Spanish, but we are working on implementing multi-language support. And in my free time, I enjoy playing video games, and that is like all my background. So now let's talk about designing for TV. As a UI UX designer, we typically encounter different challenges with platforms such as responsive, native Android or iOS. Those are like the more common. However, the UX world involves more, and one area that is very interesting is designing for TV devices. Today, I'm going to talk about the design system for big screens I have been working with, which includes Roku, Apple, Android, and Samsung TV. However, before delving into the design system topic, let's review some best practices for designing for TV devices. So, good practices. First, evaluate user context. A TV is not like a personal device. It can be used by couples, group of friends, or large families. Therefore, the design needs to be easy to view from any angle. How in this picture, like there is people around and there is just one TV, and it is important that your design can be like consumed from any angle of the room. Consider the time, like it doesn't matter if it's early in the morning or late at night. A TV design need to account for various lighting conditions, including natural light, artificial brightness, lamps, etc. Think about color and contrast. Like consider the contrast carefully. Using excessively bright control can strain the eyes and be so painful, but also avoid extremely low contrast as it may make content difficult to read or interact with effectively. Like you need to follow some rules for color for TV. Like for example, they avoid to use pure white and pure black. So there are different alternatives for the comfort of the user. Also, consider the distance. This is pretty similar to the first one. Users typically sit around 10 feet or 3 meters away from the screen, so it is important to consider testing styles, fonts, effects, and element sizes. There are like different resolutions on different sizes. This is a chart pretty interesting that show how the user is located in front of the screen. So it is important that our design work for all of them. So let's check some technical details. I'm gonna try to do it small. So first, the element size. Usually, all the elements can be easily resized for HD or 4K within the code. This means as UI UX designer, we don't really need to design for all of them. However, it is important that if you use JPG, PNG, or videos within the app UI, it will be much better if you provide them in double resolution for 4K, so they will be displayed in the highest possible quality. So the safe zone is also an important practice. Some smart TV devices still have overscan, which has an old practice to ensure that the content fill the entire screen. But on some device, UI elements are therefore cropped if they are very close to the screen edges. Safe zone can vary, but it is usually around 90 pixels. The exact margin from the screen edge can be checked in device platform guidelines. In this screenshot, we can see some Roku guidelines. They suggest like an 80% of UI, like the safe zone. However, the minimum is going to be the 90%, and that is 96 pixels. We need to consider a lot the remote control. We are not just designing for one device. We have to take in mind like the user is going to navigate the TV with that remote. So we can have diverse ways to control our TV, whether it's from our phone, basic remote control, or even an Xbox or game control. Even if we assume that the user will only use the TV brand control, they will differ between them. For example, Apple TV has a touch surface that supports swiping and touching gestures. LG has a scroll wheel and pointer mode. Roku is more minimalist and simple, but there are others that are more generic and contain like a lot of buttons. So related to this, we also need to consider the interactions. We need to consider the UX for TV will also involve interactions. How can I play on this screen, the play button? How can I pause, activate the captions, going back, open or close the main menu, etc. Thinking and mapping all of this will be part of the daily activities, and it is important to provide solution and maintain good communication with product managers and developers to help them to understand how this will work, because at first if you don't have this map in your mind, it can be confused, and it is pretty good if you do the flows including the remote control. Also, and this is a generic advice, is keep it simple. A TV serves as a means to relax and disconnect from your daily routine. So, unlike mobile phones or desktop computers, we cannot fill the user with a lot amount of text or information. Therefore, it's crucial to minimize the amount of text the user need to read. Like a TV device is not for read. It's like people is not sitting in front for read a book like they will do in another device. So keep it simple, not so long text, and use the necessary. And provide options. There will be certain features that require careful considerations, for example, login and registration flows. And I provide here a use example. Imagine having to fill out a long form using the TV keyboard. This is the TV keyboard, and you're using just your remote. And you will need to fill your name, email, address, birthday, password, and even more. So this process can be so tedious and unnecessary. While it's a common practice on mobile or desktop devices, typing with a remote control should be an option rather than a requirement. For this reason, it is crucial to consider the type of flow or tools that we are going to present. Will we offer voice controls or integrate external login options? Can we implement a QR code for seamless connectivity? We need to bear in mind that some platforms may not permit external assistance, like for example, Roku. This kind of TV doesn't allow external login or register options. Therefore, user needs to perform this action directly on the TV. This is not necessarily a bad thing, as Roku aims to minimize the amount of information required. However, for Samsung or for a smart TV, we created this flow where the user can scan the QR code and put the information in the mobile, or just type this URL on the web browser, and then he will go to the registration or login page. And an extra advice is that if you're designing for TV, test your design on your TV. In this way, we could see the element sizes, color, brightness, etc. more accurately. Like this was my TV, and this was my prototype, and I was just checking that everything was doing great, that was easy to reach, easy to read, easy to navigate. And that is also important, because if we do everything in our computer and at the end we need this design for TVs, it's going to be, it can change, right? And it can be like difficult to know that it's accurate. So now let's talk about design systems. Before continue, I would like to clarify some things. First, I did not work alone. Initially, my team consisted of at least 8 UI/UX designers, along with many other roles. However, by the end of this project, there were only just 3 designers, and we were responsible for everything related to design and the UX. And this project has already been launched, and you can view all the elements discussed here on the MSG Plus website. I put some links, download them for iOS or Android, or just access them on Roku TV. And I'm not sharing any private information, such as process or details of meetings, workshops, etc. I'm just sharing my experience and tips about designing for TV devices. And first, what is a design system? This is a Figma definition. A design system is a set of building blocks and standards that help keep the look and feel product and experience consistent. This can assist in reducing the amount of time spent recreating elements and patterns while designing and building products and interface at the scale. On this example, I make this small video where I show you how we don't need to create independent buttons for all of the screens. With just one component, we can edit colors, fonts, sizes, and everything will update automatically. That is the main function of our design system. So some challenge and examples. The first challenge was understanding what we can do on TV devices. In this example, for inputs, we could maintain the same behavior for Roku, Samsung TV, and Apple TV. In fact, for Apple TV or tvOS, that is the real name, is mandatory to include these visual changes where the input becomes bigger and has a drop shadow effect. So this is mandatory for Apple TV, but we decided to implement as well on Roku and on Smart TV. However, these visual changes that work pretty well for the previous TV were a limitation for Android. It means Android say, no, you cannot do this. You should keep the same size in all the inputs. So we needed to separate the components, even if all of them are for TV. In this example, Roku, Samsung, and Apple TV works like this. Like one input is going to make bigger while it's being focusing. And over here, we can see the behavior for Android TV, that they are going to keep the size, but they are going to have like this blue border and some bold text. So that is practically the first difference. So we have the same situation for the buttons. For Roku, Samsung, and Apple, we could change the sizes and increase them in focus status. However, for Android TV, we should keep them in the same size. Like in this example, we can see that the primary default for the first group is a height of 72 pixels, but when we focus it, it will increase to 88. And for Android TV, all of them in both status are going to keep the size in 88. And this is the example for the buttons where one, the primary is going to make bigger when while it's selected. So as well, the secondary button. And this is for Android TV that actually is pretty simple. So everything seems simple up to this point. As designer, we might think, okay, let's just keep in that way and isolate the components for Android TV. However, the challenge arises when we realize that we won't always have the same group as in the case with the menu bar. In this scenario, the isolate component will not be Android TV. Instead, Android, it will be Apple TV or tvOS. Therefore, our new group will be Roku, Samsung, and Android, which will share the same components, while tvOS will have its own unique component. This is the example for the first group, where the menu is in the lateral, and as well, it is small and you can make it bigger with the remote control. And for Apple TV, our menu is at the top. So in this case, we needed to separate and isolate from the other components. So as designers, another challenge we face every day is the attention to the detail. We often find ourselves delving deep into the feature, contemplating what the user will need or what is missing in the design, because that absolutely can happen. In this example, we can observe 56 variants and use in a video preview. They have different aspect ratio, and even if they look pretty similar, their functions are so different. We need to ensure our work is neat, as it needs to be understandable not only to us but also to the product, future designers, and stakeholders. Here we can see how we condense those of 56 design into just one component. This makes it easier to comprehend and, more importantly, to edit in case of future changes. In resume or easy words, everything that we just saw, like all of the 56, um, are here, are right in front of you in this small component that has different switches and variants, but all of here, and that will make it easy the process and the communication with other stakeholders. So we divided the design system into separate Figma files. The first one was dedicated to TVs, while the second covered native mobile, iPads, web, and web responsive platforms. Initially, we tried to consolidate everything into a single Figma file, but this approach proved to be unsuccessful. So it was complicated. It becomes cluttered and confusing because the element could not be replicated across all devices. So at the end, we say, okay, let's separate, and it definitely worked much better. Managing a specific component without causing disruption also is challenging, because when you are a big team and all of them are handling the design system, it can be chaotic. So as extra advice, it's better that one or two handle this and not all of them. So these are some of the components. We had inputs, buttons, menu, tabs, reels, icons, and much more. And those are the platforms, and this is the way how we divide it. Like, okay, Apple, Roku, and Samsung have the same inputs, and Android is going to have separate ones. And the same with the buttons. With the menu, Android and Roku, Samsung share the same component, but Apple is going to be different. However, the menu for Android, tablet, web mobile, iOS, iPad, and web is going to be completely different between them, because the platform is so different. The icons are shared for all the TV, but the icons are going to be different for web because they are going to be like bigger than the mobile devices. And here there are some links that I used while I was designing for TV. Some guidelines, some tips. They are pretty good. Yeah, practically I started with this. So thank you so much. I would like to know if you have some questions. I just dropped my website and some social networking. I have one small activity, but I don't know if we have time. So if you want, we can do it. If not, well, yeah, you can ask me anything that you need. Thank you so much.